Welcome to Thameside ERF project site induction. The induction itself will take about 40 minutes of your time, and then at the end there is a quick multiple choice questionnaire to demonstrate your understanding. A pass is 8 out of 8 correct answers. Whether you're on site today as a visitor or to carry out work on site, your safety is our prime objective at all times. If you have any health, safety or environmental concerns whilst you're on site, please raise them with your supervisor and the Viridor site representative. This induction provides you with instructions and guidance to avoid potential hazards and keep you safe. We want you to go home safe every single day, and to support that there are 3 core expectations that Viridor has. These are: assess all risks, follow the rules, take ownership. These are the 3 building blocks of our health and safety arrangements. It's about making sure you've assessed the risk before carrying out the work. It's about following the approved RAMs and following the site rules, and if you see something, take ownership of it, report it to your supervisor, and prevent anyone from being harmed from the hazard or the risk that you find. Port of Tilbury welfare facilities are located at the Lock and Key restaurant. When you get to the main entrance, and rather than turn right at the roundabout to go to the Thameside ERF site, turn left and follow the road round and you'll find the Lock and Key restaurant just before Leslie Ford House. At the Lock and Key you will find canteen and toilet facilities which are available to everyone on the Port of Tilbury. Thameside ERF facility is located within the Port of Tilbury. When you're in the port, you'll need to comply with all the port's rules and regulations. To gain access to the site, please look at the diagram on the left-hand side of the screen and you'll see a black line. The black line starts at the main entrance of the port, and about 100 metres down the road is a roundabout. Take the right-hand turn and follow the road straight all the way down to the left-hand bend. On the bend there is a filter lane to turn right into the entrance for the construction site. Demolition work on the site itself is complete and some enabling works are taking place. Types of operations consist of tree surgery, geotechnical drilling, drainage surveys and ecology maintenance on the site, and for the purposes of this induction we will be running through the hazards and risks which are present. The site is open from 7 AM to 7 PM Monday to Friday. There is no working over the weekends or bank holidays. Take a moment to write down the Thameside ERF site address details. Using the What 3 Words location will bring you directly to the main site entrance. Use these words in this order: Mason, Unity, Sand. Why not scan the QR code now and open this What 3 Words address in your browser? Upon arrival to site, be mindful you will be crossing a railway line. If the red lights are flashing, please stop in the central filter lane to turn right. If not, then access the gate going no faster than 10 miles per hour. The parking area is located ahead of you and down the slope beside the palisade fence as you enter the gates. It is Viridor's policy to reverse park. Once you've arrived, please call your Viridor site representative who will come to meet you in the parking area. As there is no welfare on site, You will sign in with the Viridor site representative, and then together you will run through your scope of work and RAMs. The Viridor site representative will also go through a point of work risk assessment with you to ensure any other contractor operations are highlighted to you, plus any new site hazard and risk changes are recorded. When you're leaving site, please notify Viridor so that we know where you are at all times. There are some areas of site which are being cordoned off with fencing. These areas are for use by specific contractors and are not to be entered into without prior authorization. Do speak with your Viridor site representative to coordinate all access requirements. When you arrive onto site, we would like you to follow the site rules. It's one of our core expectations. It means you don't drive faster than 10 miles an hour. If you're parking up, please reverse park, and if you have to muster, use the muster point in the car park. The minimum PPE requirements on site are safety helmet, eye protection, high-vis clothing, protective gloves, and protective footwear. Before you carry out any tasks, there needs to be an approved RAMs in place, and we'll explain that process later in the induction with work being carried out by competent and authorised persons. If you see anything different on site when you arrive in terms of hazards and risks which are not in your RAMs, take that 5 minutes to stop, reassess and have a chat with your supervisor. Just create a bit of time to check the works and keep yourself safe on site. One of the key things you can do on site is to keep the housekeeping good, as it is one of those main sources of incidents and accidents on site in terms of slips, trips and falls. Please take pride in the work environment and tidy as you go. If you see anything that is unsafe, challenge it. Report unsafe acts and conditions, because we'll do something about it. We'll stop the work, we'll reassess, we'll make things safe, and we'll take the appropriate action that is necessary. So please, if you do see something, report it, and let's take ownership of it and get it resolved. With that in mind, you need to report all incidents to your supervisor and to the Viridor site representative immediately. Smoking is only permitted in designated smoking areas adjacent to your welfare, and all media requests should be made through your Viridor site representative. Mobile phones can only be used in the welfare area or whilst standing in a safe location away from work areas. Don't remove any waste from site without prior approval. We don't want waste being removed without knowing its designated licensed waste route. And if there's going to be some isolated lone working, then it needs to be reflected in your RAMs, which are to be approved, and the minimum we would expect is that you would identify this to the principal contractor at the start of each day prior to your lone working activity and report back to the principal contractor upon completion. So again, all lone working must be prior approved and needs to be reflected in your RAMs. So what does this all boil down to? It's as simple as we want you to go home safe at the end of each day. Our focus is upon prevention. We want to prevent all injuries and accidents. Our primary concern is your health and well-being, and that's why we want you to report any observations on unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. It doesn't matter how trivial you think it may be, we'll investigate them. We want to have a minimal impact on our environment, celebrate good working behaviours and have no security breaches on our site. We want to be a good neighbour and minimise our disturbance to the public and to our neighbours. In the event of a site emergency, the site muster point is in the car park. A muster roll call will be taken by the working contractor and communicated to the Viridor site representative. In addition, we need to inform the Port of Tilbury Police on 01375 846 781 of emergency events, including environmental ones. You will be asked to remain at the muster point until advised otherwise. Each contractor shall provide their own first aid arrangements. They shall have enough first aiders for the number of operatives on site, and they shall have stocked first aid boxes suited for their works in their vehicles or Oasis unit. There is a local hospital in Basildon, which is about a 15 to 20-minute drive. From the port, you take the A13 heading east and take the A176 and follow the signs for the area hospital. Just to remind everyone, there are no drugs or alcohol allowed on site, and there are random tests that are undertaken on a periodic basis. Before you carry out any work activity, you'll need an improved RAMS and work authorization. All authorization is required from the Viridor site representative. Where works are being undertaken alongside the Botany Channel, your Viridor site representative will then liaise with the Port of Tilbury and TGP to gain approvals. Once you have an approved set of RAMs and authorization, please do not deviate from that approved RAMs. If you discover any changes to hazards or risk, or the method of work has to be adapted, please stop and reassess and let your Viridor site representative know. Now we're going to talk about general and specific site hazards. The site is currently an empty space following demolition and some enabling works, and as such we've got uneven surfaces, we've got trip hazards, and most of the site has no artificial lighting, which will become a greater issue as we move into autumn. From time to time there will be other contractors working on site, and you are not to enter their work areas. Your Viridor site representative will run through a point of work risk assessment to ensure all hazards, risks and mitigation measures are recorded. If you're bringing tools to site, make sure they are in good condition and got the relevant certificates with them. Permitted power tools on site are to be powered by battery, air or 110 volt via a generator. Other than within an Oasis unit, we're not expecting to see 240 volt on site, and you're expected to see these tools are portable appliance tested where that is relevant, and a record of the portable appliance testing. Similarly, if you're bringing chemicals or hazardous substances onto site, make sure you have material safety data sheets and you've got your COSH assessments with you and appropriate storage containers for them. We'll certainly be checking on that. Exclusion and limited access zones are there for a reason. Don't enter them unless authorised to do so, and if you see barriers are open, do close them. One of the main hazards on site which could result in serious injury or death is the railway crossing adjacent to site. Do not cross the railway crossing if the red lights are flashing. This is monitored by the Port of Tilbury Police, and potential outcomes are penalty points on your licence, a fine and up to 2 years imprisonment for those who do not comply to the regulations. This applies to people on foot or on a push bike, as well as those driving vehicles. Adjacent to the TGP gatehouse is an access route which leads to the high voltage switchyard. This is only to be used by UKPN and TGP for car parking, so do not remove any of the Harris fencing. All lay down, storage or work requirements around the entire perimeter of the switchyard must be agreed with the Viridor site representative.
One of the things we want to draw your attention to is the fact that we're adjacent to the Botany Channel. We certainly encounter rats on the site. There's a number of disused buildings, and again that increases the risk of rats' urine and coming into contact with rats' urine. So in terms of preventing leptospirosis, it's why we encourage you to wear your gloves all the time. Prevent the cuts, prevent the grazes. And if you come to site and you've got cuts and grazes, one of the things you can do is make sure your hands are clean. Make sure that the cuts and grazes are covered. You've got waterproof plasters on them before you go out to work. And just check them when you come back as well. There's some basic things that you can do. This is a very nasty disease. It can start like a flu, and then it can lead to vomiting, muscle pains, and ultimately to jaundice, meningitis, and kidney failure. So before you move on to the next slide, just click the little video here and spend a few minutes with Ricky Tomlinson, who's going to take you through a story that's very pertinent to leptospirosis.
Health and safety plays a bigger and bigger part in our everyday lives now, and that's a good thing. It's widely used in industry, whether it's in the building industry, the engineering industry, people going away to see it, doesn't matter. In my case, I was a building worker, so we were used to hard hats. We didn't want any bricks to fall on us. We wore goggles because we didn't want anything in our eyes. We wore all sorts of things, and at times we even wore gloves, but no one paid particular attention to gloves. Maybe the lads would use it when they were offloading bricks or concrete blocks, and also to stop cuts and grazes, but it's also to prevent yourself from getting contaminated. Now that might sound corny, contamination on a building site. Never heard of it before. I hadn't until I met Robin here, and he's going to tell you what happened to him when he never wore his gloves one day. And I must remind you, this is a true story.
I was working in Poland on a wastewater treatment. What we would do is we would take all of the brown water from the city and we would filter it, clean it, recycle it, take the solids away, dry the solids, and then we would burn the solids. Being a wastewater treatment plant, being a construction site, we had rats. I mean, we had big rats. And I was walking around over a period of probably 2 to 3 months around these various sites, going backwards and forwards. And of course we used to walk around, no gloves on. No gloves on, we'd walk around. I'd go up and down the steel work, I'd go over the block work, over the site, and you'd be holding on. You do. You'd be holding on, you'd have your hands on the handrail. And I absorbed the rat's urine through my hand. I got a high temperature. I was freezing cold. I was constantly being sick. Couldn't keep anything inside me. I kept vomiting. I kept sweating. I had diarrhea. I knew there was something wrong. Can't drink and keep anything down. I couldn't take anything solid. My right kidney, shut down. So then my left kidney went out. So then your blood's getting thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. Uh-huh. I'm then on a heart machine, having to have an operation because the food I had managed to keep inside me, I hadn't digested. Oh, no. Because your throat or your food passage into your stomach is part of your nervous system. You know, it's a reflex, but your brain tells it to do it. And my brain had decided I ain't going to tell her to do that. So all that was happening was I was swallowing the food, I was getting the food into my throat, and all it was doing was backing up and backing up and backing up. So I then got an operation across here where they took away a piece of my food pipe, and then they took away a piece of my stomach because that had been affected by the nervous shutdown. I went from incredibly fit to close to death in a matter of 2 months, all basically because there was no health and safety requirement for us to wear gloves. And I went into hospital in the September. I came out at the end of November, but I didn't get back to work until the March of the following year. I couldn't work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now you've opened my eyes, and I've been more or less in the building game since I've been 15,
Yeah.
and I've never heard of a story like. I would never have thought rat pee could cause that much damage.
Yeah.
It's a hidden danger, see, isn't it?
And that's the problem. That is the problem. It's a hidden danger. It's not like smoking a cigarette. Yeah, you smoke a cigarette.
You can see it, yeah.
Yeah, you can see
smoke.
it. Hang on, I'm having a puff.
Or
Yeah,
if you
okay.
see someone smoking, you can get out the way.
You can get it. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a hidden danger that's there, that can explode at any damn time. And if it does explode and it gets to you,
Made up.
you
Well
could
done.
be fatalities.
Well, there you go. I mean, you can't. That's as we say from the horse's mouth. So you know the game now. Hats on, goggles on, gloves on. Don't take any chances.
There are several stockpiles on site, some crushed concrete, others sand or tarmac. These are general exclusion zones. They are not mountains to be climbed up to look at the view. Sides of these may become unstable and likely to move, especially when being added to. For those of you who need access to the Botany Channel and Culvert area, this is controlled by an access gate and lock and key. To gain permission, you'll again have to go via your Viridor site representative who will coordinate your site access arrangements. Once you're through to the other side, there are clear access routes which have been established. There are still slip and trip hazards, and if you're operating within 1 metre of water, you'll need to wear a suitable life jacket and know how to use it. Part of the approved ramps for your activities will also include emergency rescue arrangements. We're getting to the end of the induction now, and before you get to answer a series of 8 questions, there's just a few things to add. In some overgrown areas of the Thameside ERF site, there are some damaged service cover plates, and along the Botany Channel you may find some sharps and broken needles, so it's about keeping your eyes and ears open as you're walking around. I will add a warning about poison hemlock, especially on the northern bank of the Botany Channel. It is poisonous if ingested. You're more likely though to have it rub on your skin, so if you've got sensitive skin it can cause dermatitis. The PPE is there to protect you. It's to protect you from dermatitis. It's there to protect you from rat's urine. It's there to protect you from cuts and scratches. We want you to go home safe at the end of the day, folks, and that's why you are to stick to the site rules and have a safe visit to our site. Once you've finished for the working day, please ensure you sign out with a Viridor site representative so that we know you have left site. And remember, there's a railway line just outside the gate, so do pay attention for any flashing lights and the sound of a siren, and do not jump the crossing. Have a safe trip home.